Hey, welcome to Digging into the Bible. My name is Jim Barnard. This is a production of Taylor Coaching. All right, well, it's day 55. Thank you for joining me. We are starting Matthew 21, and this is the celebration of Palm Sunday. I actually am really nervous. I'm going to have another 6-minute podcast if I don't speed things up. So let's go ahead and dig in. Matthew 21, starting at verse 1. Now when they drew near to Jerusalem and came to Bethphage, to the Mount of Olives, then Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, Go into the village in front of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied, and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, you shall say, The Lord needs them, and he will send them at once. This took place to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet, saying, Say to the daughter of Zion, Behold, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a beast of burden. The disciples went and did as Jesus had directed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and put on them their cloaks, and he sat on them. Most of the crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and others cut branches from trees and spread them on the road. And the crowds that went before him and that followed him were shouting, Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest! And when he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred up, saying, Who is this? And the crowd said, This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth of Galilee. And Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who sold and bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, It is written, My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers. And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, the children crying out in the temple, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were indignant. And they said to him, Do you hear what these are saying? And Jesus said to them, Yes. Have you never read, Out of the mouth of infants and nursing babies, you have prepared praise? And leaving them, they went out of the city to Bethany and lodged there. All right, so these 2 sections are very interesting to me. I think they both have a lot to do with celebration. Obviously, the first one was, celebrating the arrival of the king. And, I don't know if a donkey with cloaks and palm branches is a fitting way to celebrate a king. I feel like there's a more regal way to do it. But I wish I almost knew what Jesus was thinking and feeling here. Like, was he really enjoying this? Was he amused by it? Was he rolling his eyes? Like, I don't know. There's not enough evidence for me to really take a good guess, but I do know that there's enough evidence that Jesus was about fulfilling this prophecy, because there's multiple callbacks here that look to this moment of Jesus having this great celebration, this parade. And so it was so good. I think that the disciples, I wonder what they were thinking and feeling at the moment. They've gone, high and low with Jesus here, and this is a really high. So anyways, we step from there into Jesus having this righteous anger moment, flipping the tables and crashing over pigeon cages and stuff. Jesus does really well here to understand, okay, this is my house, and you have warped the perspective of my house. My house should not be a marketplace. It should be a place of restoration. And I love that immediately after he has this moment of righteous anger, in verse 14, it says, The blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. He went right back to work to do the work of the temple. It was a place of restoration. He began restoring people, and that's just so fitting. And what happens next, where the children begin to celebrate him again, Hosanna to the Son of David. They are basically throwing a non-moving parade for Jesus, and that is the right thing to do. He is absolutely worthy of our praise. But did you notice the chief priests, there we go, and the scribes, what their reaction was? It was the same reaction as the 10 disciples yesterday. They became indignant. And that's such an interesting word. We're going to hear that word one more time in Matthew before we end the study. But what does that really mean? Like annoyed, angry, upset? Yeah, and I almost get this sense of jealousy, like they're being robbed. And isn't it funny that Jesus is saying, like, you've turned this into a den of robbers, and yet, like, they're indignant about being robbed about something. And do you want to know what that thing is? We see it in that section of callback that comes out of Psalm 8:2. This is in verse 16. Out of the mouth of infants and nursing babies, you have prepared praise. So the chief priests and the scribes are indignant. They're feeling robbed because they're not getting the praise. Jesus is getting the praise. Well, he's absolutely who should be getting the praise. It's not on us. It's not for us, but, like, of course we want it. I understand that. Like, I wonder if the disciples are taking in the praise after Jesus, like, hey, look at us. Like, I understand that we want praise, but, when we're robbed of praise, I think it's a really great moment to say, well, did we really deserve praise? Because I don't know. I don't know that we're really worthy of praise. Jesus is the one that's worthy of praise, and he's the one worthy of our focus. Like, he was the focal point of our celebration, and I just think celebration is so important. Celebration helps us not take ourselves too seriously. I feel like these men who became indignant started to take themselves a little too seriously. And shoot, I went over 6 minutes again. I just can't not. This is really hard, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue on with Matthew chapter 21. I'll see you then.